On this episode of DC On Screen, we stand with Ray Fisher. We report on some Zack Snyder Justice League answers found by the wonderful Scott of DC Film Squadcast. We talk about what Henry Cavill really said about the Superman rumors. Plus, WB and HBO Max whip out their thick, throbbing faith for Matt Reeves' independent non-DCEU The Batman vision. Neil Gaiman talks Sandman on Audible and Netflix. And we answer listener questions. Also, we meant to mention a big thank you to Lou Lanza, who provided us with that Green Lantern script, but we forgot, because after 604 episodes, we still suck. So, thank you, Lou. All that and more after you skip this ad.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day, and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry, with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome into DC On Screen episode 604. This is the podcast where we talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions on projects upcoming and past, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game, so beware of spoilers, and welcome to the show. I'm David C. Robertson, and this, a feisty cherub of a man, Jason Goss.
Well, thanks. I don't know what to make of that, and I don't want to look into it any further.
Well, before we jump into the news, and we haven't done this in a couple weeks, so here's a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to thank the patrons, those beautiful people. If you want to join the ranks, $1 gets you the weekly show ad-free. $5 gets you that, plus Marvel reviews, How Now, Jason's Pull List, Warm-Ups, Jason Squirrels. I got a couple of things in the back burner, and it looks like I'm going to record a review of a movie called Palm Springs with Matt Carroll of the MCU cast.
Oh, I just watched that last night.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the show. Yeah, I might try to butt in on that.
Do it, man. Do it.
Yeah.
I thought I was like, I'm gonna mention Palm Springs on the show, but I don't think Jason will be like, I can't be bothered. So some movie. No, man, it was so good.
We had like an hour last night, and we've been trying to watch Hamilton. We've only made it halfway through. Which is also, by the way, just outrageously good. But we've been having to watch it in shifts. So, and it depends on how restless Evelyn's being while we're trying to sit down, because you need to put your phone down if you're watching Hamilton. You need to sit there and watch the damn thing.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been up to. And last night it was like she's restless. We've got an hour. Let's throw on something else. And I'd seen the trailer somewhere, like half of it, and was like, okay, this is probably good. Yeah, I love the shit out of it.
Yeah, it was really, really well done, I thought. So, spoilers for that episode of Patreon. But, one of the reasons I was like, I didn't even think about you because, you traditionally go, oh, it's a movie, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I just rarely have enough time. We end up reviewing so much. There's so much we have to watch that's just DC.
Yeah, and, my wife got me into, I wasn't going to watch it. I was doing prep for this show. And my wife yelled at me. She's like, hey, Andy Samberg's in a new thing with the girl from How I Met Your Mother. I was like, which one? She's like, Kristen Milotti. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, they're stuck in a time loop. And I'm like, can we watch it tonight?
How soon can we make this happen?
I'm in. And then I get in there and she's like, oh, so also J.K. Simmons. And I'm like, you should have led with that. But yeah, and as soon as I was watching it, I was just like, dude, Matt, I got to get Matt to watch this thing. Because Matt and I are Matt is huge on time travel. So, like, we tend to have these, like, long 2 or 3 hour conversations about time travel every time a time travel movie comes out. So, anyway, yeah, we gotta figure that out then.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know when I'm actually going to be able to, I'll never promise to sneak something in. I just don't know. I don't know when it's going to come up, and I don't know when I'm going to be in a room with other people who don't want to watch that stuff. And I'm like, oh, let's watch something that's not superpower related for half a second.
Yeah, let's not do superpowers, dear. How about time travel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, patrons, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the weird shit that we're putting out over there.
Yeah. And I'm almost installed enough here that I can start putting in more over there myself.
Yeah.
I've
And
been on pause for a minute.
I wanted to say, if you want to help support us and you don't want to do it monetarily, you can always run over to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever you want to call it.
Not iTunes anymore.
Well, I mean, that you can go to iTunes. I literally have iTunes.
It's just a redirect, I think, at the moment. Whatever gets you there.
It is.
I'm not trying. I don't care.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Leave us a good rating and review. Now, I have said this. Out of the next 10 people who give us a review, I'll give you $20. One of you. I'll give one of you $20.
Let's say we have we don't have that budget.
Yeah, so we do have a couple of iTunes reviews here. We got one from Travis. It says, great DC podcast. David Jason hosts one of the best DC podcasts around. They give a great insight, avoid rumors, and inject a ton of laughs in everything they talk about. If you're looking for quality DC conversations with two very passionate fans, this is the podcast for you. Brent, who, by the way, took his name out of the drawing for the $20, so don't worry about that, y'all. Because Brent's a stand-up guy. Mm-hmm. Brent over there on Fans Without Borders says, I love this show. I love listening to this show. They never fail to make me laugh. And they will give you their honest take. Yeah, they love DC, but they will definitely tell you if they have a problem with something. They won't hold back, and often it results in hilarity. Those are the best. Those are the best compliments. And I feel like Brent knows that about us. Like, we just really enjoy when people think we're funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is the highlight of my day anytime it happens.
And so Charlie Randall says, awesome podcast, very entertaining. Dave and Jason seem like great guys with strong DC opinions. Always finish the episodes with more than a few laugh out loud moments. For sure, one of the best DC podcasts out there. Thank you so much, man.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate it, man.
So, get your reviews in to be entered into the $20 drawing. All right, so into the news. And good Lord, y'all. Good Lord. So, it pains me, but this is a thing that's happening. On June 29th, Ray Fisher, Cyborg in the Justice League movie, posted a video clip from San Diego Comic-Con 2017, where he says, I think we're just about finished with everything. The reshoots have been brief, if anything. But yeah, Joss is a great guy, and Zack picked a good person to clean up and finish up for him. He posted that clip and then said, I would like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement. And when you look at the clip, it doesn't look like he's happy about anything he's saying. Not. It doesn't look like Jason Momoa, who's sitting right next to him, is happy about any part of that.
We don't have personally a system where we can go back and look at what we said about everything. It's just that would require cataloging way beyond any time that we have. We've just
right.
What'd you say? 604 episodes, and some that never quite made it to air.
I mean, I don't think many didn't make it to air.
It's just like 2 or 3 where there was some technical problem or something.
Yeah. But we did always redo those.
Mostly, yeah. Or in some form. Anyway, there's way more than we can go back and look at. But I would kind of like to know if anyone remembers what we said about that at the time, if we said anything. Because honestly, when I saw that clip when it got posted, I thought, if I didn't have... Well, actually, I did it without audio the first time I saw it because I often don't have media turned up on my phone. I turn it up. It's like a precaution against waking up babies. I just have the media turned to 0 in case. Mm-hmm. I don't want to accidentally play a clip and ruin our night. So I did watch it on mute the first time I saw it, and it looks bad. I mean, every bit of his body language just reads, someone has a gun to my head or a loved one. Uh-huh. And then Jason Momoa looks like he knows the guy who has the gun to the head of Ray's loved one, and he's going to find that motherfucker after work. But it's not a good look on either of them. Like, they are not happy about it. You can tell. It's in the body language.
Yeah, and when he said that he wanted to forcefully retract every bit of the statement, Caitlin Burrows, who is the stand-in and picture double for Gal Gadot on Justice League, she commented and said, LOL, same. The DCEU photographer Clay Enos liked the statement. So did Zack Snyder. Stunt double Richard Citrone freaking Batman for real.
Yeah. The actual body you see.
Yeah. Commented on Fisher's initial Instagram post and said, "Well done, Ray." Then Ray came out and said, "Joss Whedon," and I did notice that Whedon was spelled wrong.
Dude,
and I think
without the H?
No, it was WHEADON. And I think it was for a purpose. I think there was a reason behind it. Maybe I'm wrong. But he says Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg. Accountability is greater than entertainment. And when he was talked to by Variety, Berg told them that it was categorically untrue that we enabled any unprofessional behavior. He says, "I remember Fisher being upset that we wanted him to say booyah, which is a well-known saying of Cyborg in the animated series." Of course, Whedon stuck with the classic no comment.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk, who played Wash on Firefly and he was Alpha on Whedon's Dollhouse, said he wasn't there. And then a bunch of other inconsequential shit because he wasn't there. But he was like, "I can't imagine this happening in 17 years that I've known the guy."
Yeah.
And what was funny is just like looking down at the comments and just so many people going, "Alan, no, Alan, sweetie, no, not the right time."
It's like imagine you're looking at two signs in a road, right? There's a little fork, little 45 degree. On the left, it says, Albuquerque, whatever your fucking destination is. Who cares? 100 miles. And then on the right, it says Albuquerque, 100 miles with landmines. And you're like, you know what? I'm doing that for fun.
Yeah.
That's what he did. Well, there was absolutely no point in him saying anything, and it was stupid as shit. And
Alan Tudyk hasn't.
Dumb.
Yeah, Alan Tudyk may have known Whedon for 17 years. He is also a white dude.
Can't express like. It matters. It just does matter.
It does. It's like, hey, we're buddies, and I said I wanted to be killed off in Serenity. So, I mean, that was 2005, dude. You haven't worked with Whedon since Dollhouse, and what was that, like 2008?
Dude, I don't remember. I want to say around
2008 or 9. Yeah. And like he wasn't even on Dollhouse in a regular capacity. He was a recurring character.
He was there for like 2 months.
I'm sorry, buddy.
And was probably treated very special because he was kind of the big bad. I mean, he was the big bad.
Because this Whedon stuff goes so much deeper than just bad treatment on set. We've heard reports that like Gal Gadot wouldn't come out of her dressing room, wouldn't be in the same room with him. Yeah. That like all of her reshoots were with that body double because she just wouldn't. Like there was apparently some incident, and I don't know what the incident was. There was something that made Gal go, nope. Yeah. Ben Affleck, we've heard over and over again from sources I trust. You can find this stuff on Twitter. It's all over the place.
It did not make itself scarce.
Ben Affleck tried to institute a walkout. Yeah. Joss Whedon openly bad-mouthing Zack Snyder and the people who worked on the movie with Zack. In fact, Kevin Smith just says on Fat Man Beyond, he said, "Remember when I went to the Skywalker set and some people had worked both on Solo and Justice League? The special effects guy said there was a fair amount of trash talking of Zack's version of the movie on set by Joss. Again, this is what a special effects guy who worked on both versions of the movie told me. But that Whedon, would cut down, dismiss, and be negative about Zack's version, which he had seen and all these people had made together without him and stuff." So he says, the guy had said he was kind of uncomfortable on set because the people he was talking to about not liking that version of the movie were all people that had helped make that version of the movie. Mm-hmm. So that I think is probably the unprofessional thing. Because Smith and Bernardin tried to break down what Ray was talking about. He says, "You don't do that, especially if you came in to help out during a bad moment in the director's life and stuff. But that's hearsay." Ray Fisher responded with, "God bless Kevin Smith." Now, Ray Fisher also said, "I believe Kai Cole and Charisma Carpenter." That is a whole can of worms, because 2 years ago, Kai Cole came out and said that Joss Whedon is a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals. This is his ex-wife. Mm-hmm. She wrote a guest blog on The Wrap, said he used his relationship with me as a shield so no one would question his relationships with other women or scrutinize his writing as anything other than feminist. And I didn't go into it a lot here, but that is a fascinating read. It didn't go far enough. Marty Noxon, who wrote with Joss on Buffy, said she never experienced any of that with Joss, but it does disturb her all these years later to think she may have gotten the job because somebody wanted to fuck her. She said she does not say she disagrees with Kai Cole. She's just like, I never saw it, but holy shit, this makes me feel terrible. So apparently Whedon confessed to his ex-wife that the reason their shit's falling apart is because he went and had several affairs over all these years, like physical affairs, emotional affairs, with fans, with actresses, with, all these different people involved in the business, and was basically just gaslighting his wife at the time. That's messed up.
Yeah. Looking back, well, actually, this has been one of those things that's like been low key a thing that's kind of been known for a second, but yeah, looking back, there's plenty to be worried about. Plenty of cause for concern here.
And Ray Fisher on Instagram Live said in a Q&A with fans, he says, I am still very much under contract and I'm still very much under non-disclosure agreement. So I've got to be very careful about what I say and how I say it. Otherwise I can get sued into oblivion. So just a disclaimer there. For the folks who were looking for more specifics in the moment right now, I'm sorry that I cannot give them to you in the moment right now. Just got to make sure all your ducks are laid out in a row so you can go ahead and handle the situation appropriately so you don't end up being outside of professionally liable, legally liable for anything that could be litigious or whatever that would be. This will take some time. We will get it done. We will win. And then we'll be able to move on in the world.
I want to take a swing at paraphrasing that.
Dear
Twitter, I would love to revisit this concept with you, but in the meantime, I have to see a series of lawyers. Talk to you soon.
That's why I think he misspelled his name.
I don't know if that's going to be enough.
It might not be.
And honestly, being that it's a certain kind of circle. First of all, putting an A there is a natural thing. You may just be confusing it with Will Wheaton, even. I think it could be an honest error, or it could be like a little. Momoa and Snyder have a little joke about that. Because I'm pretty sure on the back of his like on-set chair when Momoa showed up, it was spelled like M-A-M-A-O or M-A-M-O-A instead of M-O-M-O-A. And he kind of just constantly gives him shit for misspelling his name.
That's funny.
Like, I think there have been a few, I'm trying to remember this, but I think there have been a few occasions where he tweets something about like the Cinder cut instead of the Snyder cut.
Oh yeah, there is that. Yeah, I've noticed that too.
And I think it had to do with that chair. But that was a friendly barb, though. That was like...
I think that had to do with just the fact that was trending because people kept accidentally spelling it wrong,
They're not even close to each other on the keyboard. What are you doing?
I'm not. But once a certain amount of people do it and you start typing it, it'll auto-correct it. It'll like bring that up in the Dropbox.
But you got to add that to your catalog for it to... I don't know. It's
confusing. Not in your phone, but on Twitter.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
Yeah. It brings up like a Dropbox of possibilities, and you're just like, oh, there it is. And,
And a lot of people aren't paying close enough attention to see the two. It could be an honest error, and I think in my version of events, in my head, it's like just an honest ribbing situation.
But yeah, so going back to what John Berg said, dude, all this is not about him having to say booyah. You're full of shit.
Yeah. And... I mean, that's a lot of stuff. Like, imagine if you're Ray Fisher and you didn't want to say booyah. I don't know why. I'm not going to try to suppose his reasons. Let's just say you don't want to say it. So this is kind of your big break, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you're on set and you make a deal of it that you really don't want to do that for whatever reason. I'm going to let him tell his reasons. I'm not going to suppose him. So
because he has said that he doesn't want to be like, he doesn't want to promote or be a part of basically being a black character who just throws out catchphrases.
Okay. I hadn't heard him say that, but I didn't want to suggest it. But yeah, it makes total sense to me. So let's say you just don't want to do that for that reason. You make a deal of it. Honestly, even doing that, with that being his big break, is either stupid or brave or the combination. Like the right kind. Like it's courageous for sure, but it's not necessarily the smart move, I guess.
No, he has nothing to gain by doing this.
Exactly. That's actually like having a moral center and doing something about it. It's not calculating. Your agent probably told you to shut the hell up, honestly. Like it shows he had some sense of dignity. And then later, like after all this, come on, man. I mean, it's been a long like rope to toe or row to toe, whatever the phrase is I'm looking for. I can't think of. Toe to row, boat to row.
I think it's row to hoe.
Down the shore, row to hoe. Sure. It's been a long one. And it's been a hell of a journey if you're any one of these people. And I don't know. One of my favorite reasons right now to believe him just outright, or at least give him the benefit of the doubt, is he had nothing to gain. This doesn't help him.
No.
And if he's wrong and it comes out, it'll bury him.
Yeah.
This is a big move for him to do it. I'm impressed he did it, frankly.
I don't think he's wrong based on all the people
I
who
know,
were supporting him.
but he has to end up. He's got to come out on the right side of this thing, or he could just get buried because the system's not fair.
And by the way, I got wrapped up explaining what the Kai Cole thing was, the Charisma Carpenter thing that Ray Fisher believes.
I do remember that one.
Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia on Angel and Buffy, she got pregnant, and kind of by getting pregnant ruined Joss's plans for season 4. And Joss apparently got furious and basically made her pregnant with a demon baby, and then threw her into a coma. And by season 5, we hadn't seen her in a while. She comes back for one episode, kills her off.
Oh, after he promised her that he wasn't going to kill her off.
Yeah.
That's about how that went down.
Yep. So that sucks.
Mm-hmm. That's the one I'd heard kind of some gossip about before. I was like, that's not a good look. I don't know what to do with that yet, though. Mm-hmm. It's one of the unfortunate things is like sometimes there has to be a little momentum before it gets taken seriously. It's unfortunate, and it's hopefully something we can find another way to do at some point, very near future. Yep. But it's how things have been going to this point. Yep.
Now, as for Jeff Johns, good Lord.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns, the only thing Ray said was that Jeff Johns and John Berg had enabled Joss's behavior based on some other stuff I've heard. I believe that. And now let's just say I'm into Jeff Johns as a snake category at this point. And I believe many things about Jeff Johns now. And
my toes like definitely in the water, and I'm like splashing around with my feet for sure.
Oh yeah. So I keep hearing things about, it is all over Twitter that Jeff Johns leaked a bunch of shit to Kevin Feige. I mean, they both worked with Richard Donner, from Superman. Mm-hmm. They both were his proteges or whatever. And, man, like there's a lot of evidence that, he was leaking stuff to, Kevin Feige about, what Zack was doing. Like Zack drastically changed BVS, because they leaked it out, and that's where Civil War comes from. You wonder why BVS and Civil War are the same in a lot of ways.
Could be a very dubious reason.
And I don't have details or anything, but all over the place on Twitter, you're seeing all this stuff about like how, and it is when you really think about it, how Justice League, Zack's plan for Justice League 1, 2, and 3, as he talked about in his big director's cut thing, they're very much like Endgame in a lot of ways. So Jeff may have been leaking stuff out to screw Zack over and to sabotage him. But not only that, we've got people saying that he has inappropriately flirted with them, with fans. Fit over 4T. Leslie Meehan, she said that I need to get this off my chest concerning Jeff, and this is scary for me. I've remained silent for a long time on something that impacted me. A while back, I ran a popular fan site for Man of Steel, and it was how I became acquainted with Jeff. A trailer didn't have the correct viewing audience. No one outside of the UK could view it. I let him know, and he was able to have someone correct it. It was a weekend, and my WB contacts were not around. From that point, Jeff became flirtatious with me. It was weird and uncomfortable, but I pretended to be obtuse to it because I really didn't know how to handle it. And, then it doesn't really go further into how anything else that he did that was terrible or anything. He flirted with a fan, and she was uncomfortable with it. But then you have another person, the Cinnamon Bun, not Sofia Coppola, on Twitter, says Jeff Johns used to flirt with me via DMs when I was 17. And I just figured he'd get exposed as a creep someday, but I never thought he could be a horrible person. LOL, sorry you dealt with that, Ray.
Yeah.
So, things aren't looking good for Jeff and Joss. And as lots of people have asked our thoughts about this, and look, man, I love Jeff, a lot of Jeff's contributions to TV. I love a lot of his shit in comics. Dude, I've got all of Buffy, all of Angel on my wall in there. I've got Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, Serenity, Dollhouse. But if he's doing this shit, he's got to go.
Yeah.
That's true of both.
Can't keep them around just because they're fun.
If they're abusing people with with their work, and I don't know. It's just no. Sorry, guys, you got to go.
Yeah,
you're part of the problem.
Yep. I scrolled down the other day and saw like a picture of all the villains, and it's just the whole Injustice Society of Stargirl. And it's not in the final picture with like post. It's just it's literally on a green screen, like with all the lighting and in the world. And it's not even the final pose they use. It's clearly just one of the shots that somebody had access to and leaked or took out or whatever. And like there's in costume the entire Injustice Society behind, 8 of them. They did, there's no Grundy stand-in. They put him in, that's why the green screen's there. So kneeling though, like so far below that I guess they could still work with it is Luke Wilson in what is hilariously a very like Freddy Krueger looking stripesy shirt. And then over on his right, Jeff Johns. I was like, just the other day, the first thought when I was scrolling through was like, there are more villains in this picture possibly than you thought when you took the picture.
Oh yeah, and it definitely seems like more stuff is coming about Jeff Johns for sure. But it sucks because I like his work. But
he's definitely contributed a lot to the DC universe. And I was talking to somebody the other day and kind of brought up like sometimes suspension of disbelief has to go beyond go beyond the product and into the production. Like you're going to find out later that some people were shitty. It doesn't mean you have to throw out everything. It does mean you maybe go back and view it differently and see if there's something you didn't catch before, like something nuanced that wouldn't have occurred to you before. Yeah. But it also doesn't mean that everything that made it to the screen is, cancelable. Sometimes it's just shitty people do nice things on screen on the page.
There's no reason to, burn the first 3 or 4 seasons of CW just because Kreisberg has his grubby, nasty, creepy ass hands all over it.
Yeah. Also, encouragingly enough, the CW is still doing fine. They had a problem. They denounced the problem readily and completely. Yep. Moved on and found a new way to do things, and they're doing fine.
Well, yeah. And also, I'm sad to say that most of those shows are not as good without Andrew Kreisberg there, but still got to go.
I don't know if that was a product of him or if it was a product of the writers just trying to go in directions that, in some cases, it's just going in directions that we find a little boring.
Yeah, I don't know which version of that it is, but it doesn't matter because Kreisberg needed to go.
Yeah.
So all you geniuses out there who are really good at writing, stop being creeps. Stop being jackasses, Joss. What the hell, man?
It's a decent suggestion in general. If you have some talent and you're going to try to be, credited, a public figure, someone with an IMDb page, if you have instincts or something that are making you make creepy decisions, go see a therapist and get that shit dealt with before you hurt anybody. Because that's primarily what you should be concerned with is, I'm a bad person, or I at least have instincts that are going to harm people. I should go take care of this. And then B, you're not going to come out of this okay. Like, for your own good, go take care of it. But for sure, for everybody else's.
Yeah.
In general, just everyone go to therapy for a second. Go see if there's some shit you need to turn over.
The shit about Joss, though, did somewhat, in my mind, settle a discrepancy. I had heard for years that, Joss and Sarah Michelle Gellar didn't get along. And then, there were all these articles years ago that were like, Sarah Michelle Gellar is the reason we can't get a Buffy reunion. And they were pretty much just blaming it on her. Like, she felt like, Joss owed more to her than he pretended. And then Joss was also like, well, no, she owes me. And
they made her look like the reticent one.
They did. The story would be that, both of them kind of felt like the other one wasn't grateful. But the headline was always, Sarah Michelle Gellar is the reason.
Yeah.
And then looking at it, though, I'm like, you probably tried to put your dick in it, didn't you, Joss? You probably tried. And she was like,
looking back.
And even if not, you were a dick. You were a complete dick to that girl. Because the discrepancy lies in the fact that even though Buffy was my least favorite character on the show, Sarah Michelle Gellar, in any interview I've ever seen her in, has been nothing but delightful. I'd like to leave this topic behind, but
as much as we can.
Rest assured,
it'll come up again though.
As more news trickles out, I'm almost certain that I will have a title out there of an episode one day that's like, "Yep, it's not okay to like Jeff Johns anymore." Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
We had that episode that caused people real anger over on YouTube. Anyway, where I was like, why it's okay to like Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder. Yeah, it might not be true anymore. It just might not be. It just might not be. And the thing is like people on Twitter, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, a lot of Snyder Cut fans, of which I consider myself a Snyder Cut enthusiast, can't wait for it, have wanted it since day one. But a lot of those people have been like, where have y'all been? I can't believe y'all haven't, we've been telling you this for years. Yeah, but it was coming from you. Like, it was coming from fans who were harassing Warner Brothers at every drop of every hat.
Yeah.
Like, people who were being belligerent, people who were attacking people for liking Justice League as it was presented in the theaters, people who didn't know shit about anything Zack Snyder related.
Absolute GA, completely clueless, just enjoyed it for the sake of enjoying it.
Like, a lot of this, Jeff Johns was a snake, Jeff Johns did this, Joss Whedon did this. A lot of those people, if I hadn't blocked them, it was because I slipped up.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, oh God, really? So, yeah. How you present yourself.
We don't try to be scoopers by any stretch of the imagination. We never have. We never will. So when we're wrong, we'll just tell you we were wrong. Like, we'll take guesses. But we're not trying to scoop anything.
Yep. We're just fans who follow this shit a little too closely. Yeah.
And that means that if we just see something on, or what's the chant people use on Twitter every now and then? Reddit is not a source. Reddit is not a source. Reddit is not a source. If we just see something in the rumor mill, I may even participate with it to some extent, but I'm not going. It's not going to show up on the show. Not until we actually know something.
Dude, like there were a bunch of like Reddit leaks that came out a few days or like a week ago or so that was like, here are all the things that are going to be at Fandome, and James Gunn was just like, sorry, this isn't true.
Yeah.
And then people were like, wait, so none of this is true? And he's like, I mean, some of it might be. I don't know.
It might be, but do not take this to heart.
But he's like, I'm telling you, some of it is not true. So that means some of it might be, like, all of it is suspect because some of it I know is not true.
Yeah.
And they're like, how would you know? And he's like, I'm James Gunn. Come on. Actually, he didn't say that, but other people did. They were like, dude, he's James Gunn. He knows people.
Yeah. This is not like...
He's directing the Suicide Squad.
He's on a short list of people who are on a speed dial right now. Like, just roll with it, man. Just roll with it.
Yeah. So
don't get me wrong. I mean, look, we've been lied to before. We've fallen for it before. We do try to go back and say when we've fucked up like that.
Absolutely.
But just because we hear it does not necessarily mean we're going to buy it, and it definitely doesn't mean it's going to show up in what we refer to as a news show. Yeah.
Like, I prefer concrete sources or people that I can trust, not just someone with a Ben Affleck avatar going, we done been telling y'all. That's not anything. That's not a source.
Yeah, saying and reporting are different things.
Send me the screenshots of Zack Snyder saying it happened. That's what I want. Like, or someone involved.
And we have people that tell us stuff every now and then we're very confident about or confidential about it. Tell us your source, and we'll absolutely maybe include the thing if we believe you. And you've got something you're back, you can back it up with for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But you know what? Ray Fisher, that's a credible source.
That's a pretty credible source.
He's putting his whole career on the line.
Yeah.
So now we talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. So now look, over to Snyder Cut. I'm excited about this. And I want to give a huge hat tip to our buddy Scott over on Suicide Squadcast, or actually it's DC Film Squadcast now. This dude, Scott, man, meticulously went through this Vero thread and took screenshots and even like cropped them to be pretty and all, put them on Twitter for us. And I'm talking about him because this is awesome. Zack was answering
it down to.
He did.
Here's what you need.
And Zack was answering questions. Jad Balani asks, assuming that your cut of Justice League somehow got released back in 2017, how different would it have been from the one that we're going to see in 2021? I mean, have you made certain compromises in order to release your cut, or are we going to see it exactly as you intended it to be? Zack says, no compromise, with a flexing arm. 2017, all compromise. That's exciting.
And knowing Scott, he'd like to put it this way: the juxtaposition of those two comments is powerful.
Absolutely, it is. Oh, all right. So at BVS was good. Said want to break Twitter and confirm Steppenwolf has his original design from BVS in Justice League. Zack Snyder says, is that not well known?
This is one of those where the one of the rare moments where they were on the same page is even Whedon didn't like the version of Steppenwolf he was able to put out.
That is true. Yeah, he was liking tweets that were shitting on Steppenwolf.
He was actively being salty about that as the thing was in its theatrical run.
Yeah. Mind Scab over on Vero says, one question about the Nightmare. Why does Superman have the red and blue suit and not the black one? Zack says, when he succumbs to anti-life, he returns to the red and blue suit.
I don't even know what that means yet. He's just gonna have to tell me.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to get that on some form of media. Plenty of speculation, but
Umesh Narayan says, love Batfleck. I was wondering where he got the trench coat from. Zack says, probably pulled it off some dead guy.
I just for funsies, and I don't think it would fit. It physically wouldn't fit, because they're just a different body type. But I'd like to think he just pulled it off Gordon's corpse.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
There's no way J.K. Simmons and Richard Citrone are wearing the same size coat, though.
I don't know. J.K. is jacked, dude.
He's not that swole.
Dude, are you high?
I've seen him. I don't know. I don't think they've had the same body type, but whatever.
They don't have the same body
type. I would believe
type,
it on screen if you told me. I would just quietly question, I'm not sure they'd wear the same jacket, but whatever. I like the sentiment, so I'd roll with it for sure.
He was asked if he was working on the VFX. He says, F yes, so deep in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, will Jonathan Kent appear one more time in your Justice League movie? Zack gives a smiling winky face.
I saw that one somewhere.
It would be awesome to see come together playing the first trailer of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It would bring back the amazing memories before the 2017 disaster. And Zack says, I have something better.
See, I'm curious because
what does that mean?
I loved that.
I did too.
But that's also if you're me, that's a wet dream.
Mm-hmm.
A cover of a Beatles song. If you go into my music room right now, it's just a Beatles shrine with instruments around. And
that is true.
You haven't even seen it since I got the Alex Ross stuff on the wall too.
Oh, geez, no.
Oh yeah, I got all the Yellow Submarine Alex Ross prints, baby. All of them.
Girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gonna have to send you a picture of that. I'm short 2 frames because 2 of them broke in shipping. But as soon as I get those up too. Anyway, it's a shrine. I'm a Beatles fanatic. It's one of those things that if I got to talk to Conan for 20 minutes, it wouldn't have anything to do with his career. I just want to talk about the Beatles because I know he's a fanatic too. Like him, Dana Carvey, other people. Anyway, that aside, a lot of Snyder's choices I love, like the Cornell song in Man of Steel. I fucking love that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like me and Snyder could sit down and talk music pretty happily for half an hour and really enjoy ourselves. So I don't know what he's got up his sleeve that he thinks is better than a rocked out blues ass cover of Come Together that was actually pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm listening.
By the way,
I'm there for it.
Bethany and I just recorded our review of Live and Let Die.
Oh, goddamn good song.
Great song. And apparently the director of that movie, Guy Hamilton, heard the song and said, I mean, that's good for a demo, but when are you going to make the real thing? And the producer, one of the producers,
you're kidding.
Al Broccoli was like, yeah, I want an African American actress to just sing the song at the beginning. I don't want it to be you. And Paul McCartney was like, oh yeah, no, we're not going to sell you the song unless it's us.
Yeah.
And then Saltzman, one of the other producers, was like, I passed on producing A Hard Day's Night. I'm not saying no to McCartney again. Which, by the way,
I've been down this road once. Sorry, bro.
This was the first time that the main Bond composer didn't come back. It was George Martin on the entire thing. That
actually makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Anyway,
George Martin could do that in his sleep. That dude was fantastically talented.
It was a great score.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt whatsoever.
It was finally this music is just kicking, man.
Yeah, just gorgeous. I mean, they would do things like on In My Life. In My Life for the benefit of Mr. Kite, all kinds of little songs where George Martin really was the fifth. They would literally go to lunch sometimes, or just leave the studio to go see somebody for half a second, come back, and he'd play them like, well, this is what I did when you were out, and they were like, oh my god, that's it. Wow, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Which is great for 4 lads that he was reluctant to even sign when he first started them.
By the way, much to Guy Hamilton's chagrin, I imagine. And I know we say we don't care about such things on this show for the most part, but in this case, it's to screw over somebody who said a stupid thing. Live and Let Die won that song won an Academy Award. Like,
I have no doubt. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's a great song. I've heard it performed by McCartney live, and it'll knock your dick off. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And just for funsies, and if anyone wants to pitch in and tell me, like, somewhere in the middle section, in the bridge, I swear that's John in the background. I've never found anywhere to prove it. There's a voice in the background. I can't remember what it says off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and listen to it. But I swear that's John in the background, and I've just never been able to find that corroborated or denied.
Interesting.
If anyone knows anything, let me know.
Interesting.
They used to do that all the time. Like back when everyone was still, alive. They'd pop in, do backup vocals to other people, to other Beatles songs. Like the first number one hit post Beatles was a Ringo song. God, I can't remember the name. I think Picture. But like all the Beatles were there for that. They were in on the recording to some extent. They just sometimes kept it kind of low key.
Interesting. All right, so
now out of the Beatles Minute of DC on Screen.
We have them often.
Can't help it.
David Avery says, "Are we getting the Junkie XL score for Justice League?" Zack Snyder says, "Fuck yes."
Oh hell yeah.
Corey Hobb says, "Hans Zimmer's 2 piano notes." Zack Snyder says, "Of course. Is there another?"
Those two, yeah.
Um,
I've had it on repeat enough that Spotify put it on my repeat list. I've been playing the Man of Steel soundtrack so much. That thing's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. I love it.
Eric M. Blake says, "There's been some debate over whether or not your Justice League has Lois giving the speech where she says, 'Only from the darkness can we truly feel the light,' etc. Could you settle for us, sir, in your version of the film? Does Amy Adams give that statement?" Zack Snyder says, "I don't know what that is."
He's had a couple of those where he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Jasia Kubas says, "Sir, does Cyborg have a nightmare vision where Superman is destroying the world under Darkseid's authority some moments before Clark opens his eyes and flies out of the ship when the League drops the mother box on him?" Zack Snyder gives a winking, smiling face. And as Scott put it, "We've seen the storyboards." I've seen those storyboards. Hey Zach, is the new aspect ratio of 1:66 expanding from the Theatrical's 1:85 ratio, making more use of the 35mm negative, or will it just be a little more on top but less on the sides? Zach says...
technical question.
I know. Zach says the film was shot in 1:33, so 1:85 was a crop. I am working on 1:33. Have you experienced, Snyder says, have you shot Justice League with a digital camera? Zach says, no film. Massey FH says, "First of all, thanks for everything. I just have a question. What did you mean about Unite the Seven? A Green Lantern is coming?" Zach, smiling, winking face. And one more. Hey, Zach is the black suit that appears behind Superman in the deleted scene in the scout ship, the design for the suit he actually wears. Zach says, "Not quite. That was done without me. Trying to use my design, but got it a bit wrong."
Wait, which suit?
The black suit that appeared in the deleted scene in the scout ship behind him.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the way, HBO Max has completely replaced the theatrical cut of BVS with the Ultimate Edition. That is totally Zach's doing. Zach posted a picture, as far as I can tell, a new picture of Ben in the nightmare suit, and it says, "Of course it's real. Of course he's real. He's on HBO Max." And I dug that. Man, I'm so glad that HBO Max has the Ultimate Edition, because that is Zach's version of the film, and that theatrical cut. Just, I don't need people seeing that.
That caused us a lot of problems.
I've even at this point still got people who are like, "Well, we watched the movie." I'm like, "How long was it?" "Oh, 2.5 hours." Yeah, that's not the one.
Yeah, that's not the right one.
Well, I'm not gonna watch it again. All right, don't.
We must have recorded between us popping on other shows, us revisiting it a couple times to answer questions. We must have done 12 to 14 hours worth of talking about that movie.
Absolutely.
And they were all basically, okay, look, if you see the other version, if you see the other 30 minutes, this is an entirely different movie. Yeah, not all of them, but definitely the latter half.
So yeah, but I don't know. We are pretty heavily associated at this point with Stranded Panda, Matt Carroll's network that he started from MCU Cast and Star Trek Universe, and Who Watched the Watchmen and all that. So we are getting a lot of Marvel people who are now asking questions about like Snyder stuff and BVS, and also wanting to talk to me about like their problems with BVS. And I'm like, dude, I heard this shit like 3 years ago. So like, I'm well versed in arguing the points, but give me a second sometimes, because just give me a second to calm down. Because I've been arguing this for years now.
We did one specific show after BVS, wasn't it? Where it was like 44 answered questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, someone took the time to write 44 fucking questions about just about that show. And then we filled it in. And this is before we had seen anything like an Ultimate Edition. So we filled it out with some headcanon, some answers. And I think for the majority, we ended up, our headcanon ended up being something that was in the Ultimate Cut, or something that was, at least workable by either cut.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've put in a lot of time on this. So yeah, there's a little bit of PTSD on it almost.
Yeah, and I'm surprisingly getting a lot of people who are like saying stuff to me like, by the way, I watched the Ultimate Edition and it is way better, but I still have these problems. And those problems are always invariably Jesse Eisenberg and the Martha moment. I'm like, I can tell you why they work for me. I can't make you get over your shit though. Yeah. And like there's like Matthew Westfox over at Superhero Ethics is just like, specifically him was like, he's a great villain if only he wasn't named Lex. And I'm like, no, that's some fan entitlement bullshit. I can't help you there. Like, I'm sorry.
That is a petty qualm. I mean, all right, let's look at stuff you've had to get over. It still bothers you that Gal Gadot's eyes aren't brown, or are brown.
Yeah.
Still bothers you.
A little bit. A little bit.
Like every now and then you're like, it's just that one thing.
Yeah, there's just like little petty qualms. Like I have stuff like that. Like in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, like it bothers me that Kirk's eyes are blue and freaking Bones' eyes are brown when it should be reversed. Like it just bothers me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. There can be little things like that, but overall,
some
stuff you just have to kind of shrug your shoulders and be like, it's not going to be perfect.
And yeah, that it's a. And I like Matthew Westfox, but it is just mind-numbing to me. I'm just like, wait, what do you mean he's a brilliant villain, but you don't like him because his name is Lex? What? What? Like that? The statement doesn't make any sense to me. I'm really not trying
to hate on him here, but that on the pettiness scale, that seems pretty high. Like I kind of want to explore it more. What is it about this that gets to you? Because he's been Lex or Alex or he's been several things over the years.
Yeah, we've seen so many different versions of him, and
definitely
that's not my Lex.
The long red hair is precedented. It's been drawn.
I had I think it was Sherman Smith over on Stranded Panda that was like, that's not Lex. That's not the right Lex or whatever. I'm like, okay, so who's the right Lex? Because are you talking about the mad scientist? Are you talking about the like greedy businessman, the capitalist? Are you talking about the Midwestern
president?
Huckster? You're talking about yes. There's like you talking about Rosenbaum. You talking about Super Friends and the Iron Man suit. What do you want? Which one? Which one's right? There's so many. Oh. But yeah, so if things get a little terse, I apologize.
It's only that it's a burden that we've been bearing for some time, and it's very loaded in certain ways for us. Those kinds of questions. And
for me, like there's a lot of stuff that goes back to like the arguments always seem to go back to either, and it's usually the same people saying this. Well, I mean, I just feel like they were trying to be too much like Marvel and get to Avengers. Okay, but you're mad because they're not enough like Marvel because they went a darker road and did something different. Well, yeah, I mean they're not like Marvel, but you just complained they're trying to be like Marvel. Yeah,
there are people that believe and with I think varying degrees of legitimacy who believe that like DC is Schrodinger's Marvel. That it's sometimes too much like them and sometimes not enough like them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue was Warner Brothers wanted to be like Marvel, and Zack Snyder wanted to tell his thing. Zack Snyder wanted to be Nolan, and Warner Brothers wanted to be Marvel.
And you know what? Frankly, I'm glad he's not exactly Nolan, because the Nolan stuff to me isn't. I don't think that's the high watermark that we're going to hit. I think we can do a lot better than that, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he wanted to be Nolan because he wouldn't have done Justice League if he wanted to be Nolan.
He just wanted to have like his. He wanted to do his take. He wanted to be on tour and actually tell his. Like, he wanted a vision.
And the man deserved it because God is a division.
Yeah. like this is one of the great moments that's the Snyder Cut people actually achieved is getting a vision this late in the game, or for my predictions, what is very early in the game. I thought this would take another 5 years. Like I always suspected it might be out there, but I didn't think we'd get it by demand this early. So yeah, like to have gotten this, to have gotten Snyder's vision across, and especially with, I mean, he's not even toying around anymore. He's just straight up saying like, no, I'm getting to do all the things. And even the AT&T brass, when they're doing interviews, have said the same thing. Like, oh God, I wish it was only 30 million. That kind of stuff. Like all the talking points are in line. And the big difference is like, and one of the villains that gets lost in this is the Emmerich Tsujihara crew. There are apparently plenty of people to blame for what has transpired, and Indeed. Some of the division that has been a part of our lives for several years now. But some of those executives clearly thought they had an idea. They thought they were going to try to do an auteur version of the universe. And then the moment there was any pushback, they buckled. They fucking buckled, man.
Well, to be fair, what they did was they had Green Lantern, which they thought was their version of a Marvel movie, where they followed the formula of a Marvel movie. It did not do well because, if I remember correctly, everybody was complaining, all the headlines were, they're trying to be Marvel now.
I don't remember that. I don't remember the headlines, but
I do.
I mean, we clearly reviewed it and watched it recently, and
they need to focus on being Nolan. Okay, we'll go the auteur route. You
just go from Heath Ledger's Joker is the last thing a lot of people remember. I mean, honestly, some people there's plenty of debate about Dark Knight Rises, and for God's sake, we've done it. But that was a very particular view of a universe. And then what is it? 3 years later, you're looking at Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Not even that. Less than 2 years later, I think. Anyway, not very long after, you're looking at Green Lantern, and it is very Marvel-y. I mean, it really is. It very much fits some of the patterns of like the old, like an Ant-Man or something like that. But when you get into Man of Steel, like Snyder clearly just he had a thing he wanted to do, and it was not the Marvel version of things.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's artsy. It's a little navel-gazy. I like it a lot more now than I did initially.
It took itself seriously and didn't apologize for it. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the movie in general. I've loved it. Like our initial review of Man of Steel was me defending the movie to you.
Yes.
You've brightened on this movie a lot.
I have brightened on Snyder's vision too. Like even back in the day, I would have been like, I don't agree with all of his decisions because he killed Jimmy Olsen. There's no reason for that. And now I'm just like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
We have like a million versions of these infinite universes.
Olsen has his own series right now. It'll be okay. And going back, we still have to reckon with Watchmen, which was Snyder, and which did not do nearly as well as they thought. They thought they had a fucking knock it out of the park. No way this can go wrong.
Well,
this is going to be $1.5 billion.
Yeah, but they did the same thing they did to him on BVS. They made him cut out like 30 minutes or so.
Exactly. And same thing. If you watch the full version versus the theatrical, guess what? Different movie. Feels different, acts different, is better. Period.
But here's the thing. When I watched him in the theater, I dug it, man. I dug it hard.
I did too. I loved the shit out of the movie.
When I watched the director's cut, I liked it. I liked it even more. When you and I sat and watched
that was one of those where you had never quite done it, and I was like, "You've never seen the ultimate cut?
Yeah.
Are you serious? We're doing this tonight." And we did. We sat down and watched what is almost 3.5 hours worth of movie. And soaked up every second of it. And it's not even like that's, I don't know, that was probably the 7th or 8th time I've done it. And I've done it another 10 times since then, sat down and watched that movie.
And it was that night. It was that night that I said, God, if only they'd let Zack Snyder do like Justice League.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and look at the Minutemen. They should let him start with Justice Society.
Yeah, let him do a JSA.
I was, as the marketing push put it, all in.
Yeah. But if you're Warner Brothers, you're having to reckon with, okay, look, we tried to do a comic accurate version with auteur leadership, and it didn't get us where we wanted. It made its money back, and some, and plenty, frankly. I mean, it made plenty of money. Don't mistake that. But making double what you put into a $400 million budget isn't necessarily enough. You got to pass a certain mark before you get more. They did it. It was great. Critically, it really didn't do well critically coming out, but it has a lot more following, I think, now than it did when it came out.
Well, importantly, you're talking about BVS, right?
Nope, I'm talking about Watchmen on that one.
Oh, you're talking about Watchmen.
They have a very similar reception to me. That's my point. Is Watchmen comes out, they try to do the auteur by the book thing.
Right.
It doesn't do exactly what they wanted. So they seems like almost they went the other way with it. Okay, let's take a character that's not top tier, and I'm sorry, Green Lantern is not. He's not one of the top. He's not the big three. You know what I mean?
No, but he is kind of the closest thematically, I guess, and he is the closest to Iron Man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think they were totally trying to do Iron Man.
I mean, yeah, that movie is the most I've ever felt like the accusations of just trying to copy Marvel were true. Mm-hmm. And they were only, 2 years after to date? I mean, they were very close. It was very clear.
Yeah. I mean, at least now until we have freaking David Ayer saying, oh no, they told me we had to recut Suicide Squad to be more like Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah. So they made adjustments even on Suicide Squad, which was a movie, by the way, that they bet the farm on, in quotes, correcting the franchise. Because BVS had come under such critical reception. They're like, no, we have this in the bag. It's going to set everything straight. Don't worry about it. And at the last minute, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Let's make it like Deadpool. And
I remember the reports that came out, and this was years ago, before we ever started the podcast. I think it was like 2013, 2014, me telling my friend Jason Guthrie, I was like, man, they are talking about they're doing Suicide Squad. They're going to be spending like $50 million on it. They're talking about like doing like big tent poles, but then also like supplementing that by building the universe out with really small movies that have like a tiny budget. And we were just both like, oh, that is so the way to go. And then they were just like, they somehow just trailed off of that and screwed it up.
No, instead, early on, what they did was, and again, this is all just me blaming the executives, and there was a lack of, there was a lack of good ideas, and B, there was a lack of leadership, and C, for sure, there was a lack of standing behind your product. And a lot of that was like, no, we're gonna. They built so hard early on, especially after Man of Steel. Like the budget kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Which was not necessarily the way to go. Like you said, there should be fill-in movies. There should be outside movies. They figured that out eventually, but it wasn't that group of executives that sorted that shit out. Those idiots just shortened all the movies and got them out on time and took their fucking bonuses at the end of the year.
Well, I don't think they took bonuses. They tried.
For sure did.
No, they were. The whole thing is they were trying to make sure that in case they were gone when AT&T came in, if Justice League was a success, they were going to get bonuses. Mm-hmm. Justice League was not a success. Justice League was a flop. It made a little money, but not much.
Here's the thing. It's still a matter of like, they doubled their budget. And the budget was inflated based on some early movies that got built into that budget. They still made probably twice what they put in that movie when it comes right down to it. But that's not enough. It's really not. It's kind of like Constantine getting 5.5 million views on NBC and just getting summarily canceled. I think its low point was like 4.5 or some shit. It's just not enough in certain areas. It depends on what you're doing. But if you're trying to make a big budget movie with the big three involved and starring, and you don't cross $1 billion, you're done.
NBC would kill for those numbers now, though, by the way.
Yeah, I know. The days of The Office, even Scrubs are long gone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they went back and forth on what they wanted to do. They never had a clear vision. And I think all of the people who signed on board honestly suffered for it a little bit, if not heavily. I mean, you could argue that all of these series of indecisions are eventually ended, say, Affleck and rehab. Affleck. I didn't mean to call him an insurance company.
It's okay. Affleck.
That's what I heard after I said it. I was like, did I say that? Anyway.
Did we just find a natural endpoint to that conversation?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, okay. I'm going to talk about this. Henry Cavill was on the Big Ticket podcast with Mark Malkin. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of headlines saying like, Henry Cavill dashes fans' hopes. That's not what it's saying. Mark asked, will you go back to playing Superman again? I Googled right before we talked because I needed the latest rumor. It's just rumor after rumor after rumor. What is the wildest one you've heard about you and Superman? Henry does not answer, will you go back to playing Superman again? Mm-hmm. Henry does not answer, what is the wildest rumor you've heard about you and Superman? Really? Henry sidesteps that. Henry says, in reference to the rumors, they get wilder and wilder by the day. The amount of speculation, the stuff I read on the internet is extraordinary and sometimes frustrating. It's when you see people stating stuff as fact. Like, no, that's not the case. That hasn't happened. And that conversation isn't happening. But the important thing is that people are excited about it. And I think it's important to be excited about a character like Superman. Superman is a fantastic character. If people are chatting about it, and even if they're making stuff up, it's okay, because that means they want to see the character again. And in an ideal world, I would absolutely love to play the character again.
Yeah, if Henry Cavill wasn't an actor, he would be a PR agent.
Yeah.
And a damn good one.
Mark says, do you ever leave a comment on a rumor online using an alias? Henry says, I'm not going to lie, I've been tempted. But then this is why he's Superman. He says, but there's something about that feels deeply immoral. When it's about Superman, and if I'm representing Superman, it just feels like the wrong thing to do. I'm just going to let this all play out. Me saying something isn't going to make a difference. What does it really matter? One day people will know the truth. And if they don't know it now, it's okay.
Yeah, he's so good at PR. It's always impressive. I mean, did you see him on the Patrick Stewart thing the other day?
Oh, I heard about it. I didn't see it. Not yet.
It was glorious. He summed up the entire Snyder debacle in like 10 seconds and did it with this British air of not throwing a single person under the bus. Simply kind of explaining that things were complicated and a little bit messy, kind of. And then goes straight into very similar sentiment about as long as people are interested in the character and care about the character. And then that's where he's been quoted as saying, like, I want to play that character again. Because that's as deliberate and bold as I've seen him be, is really on that show where he just straight up said, no, I would like to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, all these people saying, all these headlines saying like, oh, remember when we said that he's back? Yep, he just squashed that. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He
sidestepped all of that.
He didn't say
And he
anything.
left you several avenues for interpretation, so he doesn't have to be accountable for any of it. He's really good at talking himself into PR, man.
I'm like, he said a ton of shit, and what he did was sidestep everything that the guy wanted to know, but also made me feel good about him playing Superman.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. Like, you know how they send people with Tom Holland because he can't be trusted necessarily? Because he's just Spider-Man in certain ways. Like they send Cumberbatch with him, who's just very austere and deliberate with what he says and wants and kind of controls the situation. Yeah, this is the kind of person that they send with those kind of people.
Now, there's been a frustrating narrative that I've seen unfolding on social media, and that narrative is thus. Now that Snyder Cut is happening, WB has lost faith in Pattinson. They're scrapping that movie. And of course, this is why we can't trust a lot of the Snyder Cut fans, because they say shit like this. They get this rumor started. I have seen this all over the place. Well, HBO Max has made a new DC drama series commitment from Matt Reeves and Terrence Winter that is set in the expansive world that Reeves is creating for the Batman film. So not only do they have faith in the movie,
and when I saw that headline, I'm pretty sure I could hear Brooklyn Batman laughing from far away. Just soaking it up.
So they announced that they have given a series commitment to a Gotham City Police Department show that's going to be set in the same universe, and they do specify the Batman universe that Matt Reeves is creating, thereby, in my mind, pushing the idea that this is a separate universe from the DCEU. This is not part of the Snyderverse. Sorry, people who refuse to believe otherwise.
I mean,
we know it's in the multiverse, but they're not rebooting it.
They're playing with the multiverse. They're going to do different versions of things.
Yeah.
They've fully given in to the idea that they can do different versions of things and that the fans won't just have an absolute conniption.
Right. And, and then we have to turn around and explain, like, no, this isn't a soft reboot. We're not rebooting Ben Affleck. Damn it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Multiverse, y'all. Multiverse. Michael Keaton is not Ben Affleck. Robert Pattinson, not Ben Affleck. Separate Batman, separate universes. They all may coincide at some point and mingle and say howdy, but they're not, it's not the same universe.
Not that it wouldn't crack me up if we came back to the movies afterward, and the only thing that's the same is Ezra Miller's Flash, and he just refers to he met another Flash and everything's different now. Not that wouldn't make me kind of laugh in a way, because it would just be crazy for TV to be used as the mechanism to affect movies in that capacity.
Absolutely.
I've never seen anything like that.
Even if we don't get that shot from Ezra Miller's perspective in the Flash movie of seeing Grant Gustin, I would love it if like Barry was in sort of a funk and they're like, what happened? And we just have that Louis Tully moment from Ghostbusters 2 where he's just like, I'm in another Flash and everything's different now. Like we just have the Louis Tully where he tells the judge like, plus they oh God, plus I turned into a dog and they helped me. Like, like what?
I wouldn't mind it, and I wouldn't mind any expanded version of talking about it. But honestly, if I had to put money on anything right now, it'll just be that he starts calling himself the Flash, and when they ask why he's calling himself that, he does a callback to where he got the name.
Oh yeah,
that's just for my money. If I had to bet what I think will happen,
yeah.
And I'll be so happy to see it if it does. Even if I get even that, I'll be beside myself.
Where'd you come up with the Flash? Well, I came up with it, kind of.
Well, it was another version of me. Anyway, in a different suit. Nice guy.
Yeah. Oh, God. I just can't wait for it. I just want to see it. I just want to see all the things. I'm excited. Anyway, Matt Reeves said, this is an amazing opportunity, not only to expand the vision of the world I am creating in the film, but to explore it in the kind of depth and detail that only a long-form format can afford, and getting to work with the incredibly talented Terrence Winter, who has written so insightfully and powerfully about worlds of crime and corruption, is an absolute dream. And, HBO Max said a lot of great things about it. They're all happy as shit. Cool. Now, I've seen some people saying, like, so basically they're doing Gotham. I heavily doubt it.
No. I really don't.
Even with this news bit, Justin Kroll from Variety says, no idea if Pattinson will make a Batman appearance, but what I have learned is that it will be set before the Batman is set and dive into how Gotham became corrupt and infested with criminals.
Yeah.
Remember
year one when Gotham is getting his ass, or not Gotham, Gordon is getting his ass kicked by the corrupt cops. Flask, I think his name. Mm-hmm. That's what I think we're getting. Like, not necessarily that scene, but I think we're getting more of that. Like, and Terrence is, it's crime or criminal drama. That's his background.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, like, I don't know how, like, I'm hoping we're not going to get Batman as a kid. I'm hoping we're going to be dealing with cops who are now dealing with, like, a Batman running around in Gotham doing stuff. But we don't see a lot of that. That way they could have, like, a stuntman in a suit and not actually have to, like, really delve into Batman.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will be the thing. It will be Gotham Central. It will be like what I wanted Gotham to be for all those years, and it wasn't.
Gotham just kind of went a different way with it. They got a little fantastic, a little spectacular, and for better or worse sometimes.
Yep.
But they always, even from the first couple episodes, played with, they're gonna be villains, they're gonna be gimmicks, they're gonna be familiar names that have an outcome. All of that. If you just do a show that's literally just Gotham PD, I think you got a different thing on your hands. You don't necessarily have to bring all that in.
Right.
And you can work on the theory that a lot of people have about Gotham, that it's Batman's emergence that brings all that out in people that maybe arguably otherwise would not have, gotten to that point with their personality.
Mm-hmm. Now, reporter Chris Tapley says that the Batman movie, he says, is going to get going again in September. In the meantime, the sets will be built up in studios in order to facilitate Reeves' vision for Gotham City. He says, hearing the Batman picks back up in September, all locations are scrapped. Everything in studio now. That would make sense.
I believe it. To get started that early under unknown circumstances, yeah, I can totally buy that.
And we've seen, studio sets work, in Tim Burton's movies. Nolan did it in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen.
It can be done. I mean, presumably someone's thought long and hard about whether it could be done before they pulled that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to see if they're right, effectively.
There's a recent interview with Empire where Patty Jenkins says that she mentions not only the live action spinoff film for the Amazons, but a possible animated series that would focus on the other members of the Amazons. So I guess we'll keep you updated on that, y'all.
Yeah.
This is cool. You remember the guy? You know who Clifford V. Johnson is?
Not off top.
You just saw him too. A British theoretical physicist. And he's a professor at the University of Southern California. Okay. He's done consulting for The Martian, for Interstellar, for Arrival, bunch of Marvel movies, like Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame. Mm-hmm. And he was the person talking to Kristen Milioti in Palm Springs, like on the satellite. Okay. Yeah. Like they literally got him in the movie to talk about quantum physics. And this
He's
dude...
probably just happy to get his actual face on instead of his consultation.
Yeah, and this dude is consulting on The Flash.
Sweet.
Yeah, so there's that.
Always good when you just reach out to an expert instead of, your stoner buddy.
Mm-hmm. And then you... Nah, never mind. Mark Bernardin says on Fat Man Beyond.
Yeah, there you go. You're trying to remember the instantiation. Yeah, it's Fat Man Beyond currently.
I have it on pretty good authority that there exists in the Warner Brothers vault a 170-minute cut of Batman Forever. I think that it went much deeper into his childhood psychosis and his mental blocks, and that it was a more serious, darker version of that movie that was one of the first assemblies that Joel filed with the studio, and they eventually cut it down because they were like, it's too dark for kids, we gotta sell these Happy Meals, so maybe let's not invest ourselves into the trauma of childhood murder. We've got Jim Carrey. Let him do some shit.
We've got Ace Ventura. Just let him lean into that.
Now, Variety confirmed with a source close to the movie that there was a longer assembly cut of Batman Forever. It was much darker in nature, and it involved Two-Face escaping from Arkham Asylum. And I do remember Rene Auberjonois, the guy that played, he just recently passed away. He played Odo on Deep Space Nine. He was on Benson. He played Dr. Burton, who looked a lot like Tim Burton. He was one of the asylum doctors. But it features an extended scene with Riddler invading the Batcave and using his cane as a weapon. And but they're saying, like, representatives said that there's been no discussions about distributing a director's cut of Batman Forever. They're not aware if the footage for an extended version has even survived 25 years. Even so, some of the deleted scenes do appear on the DVD and Blu-ray editions of the movie and have made their way to YouTube. But, that stuff would have to probably be color graded and supervised, and Joel Schumacher just died, so it's not looking good for that cut to show his face.
They'd have to put it in the right hands. And
yeah.
And honestly, 25 years is a long time to not have to touch something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to do there.
One last bit for movie news. Fandome. Questions.dcfandome.com on August 22nd. It says we will celebrate our amazing fans of the DC Fandome. We want your voice heard and your important questions answered. Please submit your questions here via text or video. There's no limit on the number you ask or the DC costumes you wear. It's you or our fans who put in the fan at Fandome. That's what they said. So if you want to throw out questions for the Fandome, questions.dcfandome.com. And when we come back from break, we'll be talking a little bit about Batwoman, a little bit about Stargirl, and answering listener questions.
Across the country, Amazon employees are turning hourly jobs into higher-paying careers.
I heard about this design apprenticeship program with Amazon, and now I'm a UX designer for Prime Video.
Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
Dave here to remind you that in preparation for Die Another Day, my wife Bethany and I have been watching every James Bond film, most of them, for the very first time. If you're into 007 or you've always wanted to get into it, check out Breaking Bond on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and everywhere else, including BreakingBondcast.com. All right, we are back, and we got a little bit of TV news here. Javicia Leslie, who is apparently, I hear, known for being on God Friended Me and The Family Business, is going to be portraying Ryan Wilder on Batwoman. She's the new Batwoman.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah,
I didn't know either.
Yep, and let's see, Ryan is described as likable, messy, a little goofy, and untamed. She's also nothing like Kate Kane, the woman who wore the batsuit before her. With no one in her life to keep her on track, Ryan spent years as a drug runner, dodging the GCPD and masking her pain with bad habits. Today, Ryan lives in her van with her plant, a girl who would steal milk for an alley cat and could also kill you with her bare hands. Ryan is the most dangerous type of fighter, highly skilled and wildly undisciplined. An out lesbian, athletic, raw, passionate, fallible, and very much not your stereotypical all-American hero. That's fine. I don't know her from anything.
I really don't. I was just looking through her IMDb, and there's literally not a single thing that I know her from.
Yeah, but this whole she could kill you with her bare hands thing.
I like the still milk for an alley cat as well.
Yeah. But when we leave Kate, she's still dealing with the fact that she killed old dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. And I think Carolyn Dries has said that they are going to be playing with a lot with like the idea of the mystery of where is Kate Kane and how that's going to drive a lot of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
The way this description reads, I feel like this person is going to be coming in. This Ryan Wilder is going to be coming in for this season, be Batwoman, but not be Kate Kane's Batwoman. Like they're going to be like the big, like she's going to be like a murdering type of Batwoman, and will maybe define what kind of like she's basically going to be Jean-Paul Valley.
That's what you were getting at.
That's what I'm thinking. Like it's going to be like as Bats, and then we'll get a second Kate Kane come in mid-season or at the end of this season, a recasted Kate Kane. And
so you're still thinking maybe a recast?
I do think I do. Yeah.
Alternative could still be serving purposes of that. Is Cassandra comes in and maybe plays the same role, but not with the recast or anything. Just
possibly. But I kind of feel like Ryan Wilder might come in and wind up being her own separate hero at another point. Eventually, after they recast Kate Kane. But
presumably after all this.
Maybe not.
Presumably after all this. Now, I would have thought that before when Ruby Rose signed up for the role.
Mm-hmm.
This actress has done her homework on the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of knows what she's getting into, because it feels like, to some extent, I don't feel like any of the information wasn't there for Ruby to know what she was getting into. Like we talked about it a few times. Like you can still hear Tom Welling's voice pitch up when he talks about Vancouver.
Yeah.
He gets like audibly anxious when he discusses it. So yeah, hopefully she knows what she's getting into. She's on board, and we've got something that's either, I don't know, maybe like you're saying is going to be a one season kind of crossover period, or I don't know, maybe we end up liking her. Honestly, I just really don't know her from Eve, but honestly, a lot of the reviews I've seen, all of the fan feedback, and everybody who, I just saw a lot of positive, oh hell yeah kind of stuff for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna have to roll with that, because I'm completely ignorant to her.
Yeah, I don't know her from anything, but I mean, all I can say is she cute.
I think I've seen the trailers for God Friended Me. That's it.
Yeah, and it did not look like anything I wanted to watch.
No, it was not my cup of tea.
And it's been canceled now, but
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting premise, I guess, but it was not something I was going to make time for.
That shit was like, touched by a social media. Touched by Zuckerberg. I don't know.
Look, I've done this in my youth. I watched Angels in the Outfield. I read the novelization of it.
The only thing I know about
the
that movie
spinoffs
is that Drew Struzan was angry with how they photoshopped his painting for the poster.
You're talking about Angels in the Outfield?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you would just remember Christopher Lloyd.
Well, no, I remember
being Christopher Lloyd.
Well, I remember he was in it, but only because like Drew Struzan was like, this is the guy that did all the Back to the Future paintings, like that became the posters. He did.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he's a god in the old movie poster business. He did some like really iconic. Like they found him while he was doing album covers.
He's the guy who did The Thing in like a few hours overnight, isn't he?
I don't know that story specifically, but
I remember it being like he got the commission. They're like, we need it in the morning. He's like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And almost like passed out from the paint fumes.
Maybe.
Trying to get it done overnight.
One story I know about him is like he was working at a company doing covers for record albums. He did some iconic shit. And they were like, the story goes is they would have like movie people come in and like sort of handpick all their best ones. They would basically like poach all of those artists and take them to the big time, do movies. And the guy like literally walked in, looked around and said, I like that one, that one, that one, and that one. Bring me those artists. And they're like, well
that's the same guy.
It's all Drew.
You just need to talk to this one here.
And the guy was like, damn it, they're going to take Drew. I know it. Like that was the only thing he was worried about. I was like, son of a bitch, they're going to take Drew.
I've lost him.
And he did. He totally lost him.
Yeah.
But, and what's funny is like Drew doesn't give a shit about any of this sci-fi superhero bullshit. He's just like, whatever, I'll do it. So like he did all the Indiana Jones movie posters. He did like friggin' he did do Carpenter's The Thing. He did do all the Back to the Future, all the Star Wars posters.
Yeah. If you grew up in the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s, this is what a video store looked like.
Blade Runner, like pretty much.
don't know about 70s. I don't know when video started. Now a video store started. Now think about it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I know, having been born in '84,
I think it was the 80s, really.
that they were a part of my lifetime, the entire lifetime up until they stopped. So
Well, I'll tell you this: there was an episode of Married with Children where they were like the Bundys were upset because they had a Betamax player and they couldn't get all of the good movies, and their next door neighbors had the VHS players.
oh yeah, that's a real thing. Also, what's his name? I forget who it is. Somebody has a really good whole 20-minute set about working at a Betamax place.
I don't know.
What's his name? Good comedian.
That narrows it down.
Yeah, I'll remember it like randomly tomorrow for no good reason. I remember his face. He's got like a little gap in his teeth. He always dresses really well.
Is he on the
Kind of
League?
reminds me of the play that guy's. It reminds me of the guy that plays Cyril, but I don't think it's actually him.
Oh,
Cyril Figgis.
I do know who you're talking about.
I feel
I
better. You can't remember his name either.
I don't know his name.
I feel like I have company now.
I remember. I know every time I see the guy, I go, you're not funny.
He actually is. His albums are fantastic.
I don't know. There's certain. It's like one of those chemical reactions that you talk about.
We're
like,
yeah.
"Eh."
Well, he also has another bit. I remember his bits really well for not remembering his fucking name. But he's also got somebody's yelling at me right now. I guarantee you. But he also has another bit about the king hat. Like he worked at a hat store for some time. And people would just come in and look at hat, but really it was just like a failed store waiting to fail. And, because it's a hat store, and
Right.
the people would just come in and try on a series of hats for a lark and, for like an early version of pictures. And, every now and then one of them would point up at the top and be like, let me try that king hat, my good man.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the crown? It has a name. It's not a king hat. There's a whole other word for that.
Yeah.
It was a good bit. If only my memory was better.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, you can't just do a hat store. You got to do a full-on haberdashery.
Actually, I think the name of that store and anybody can look this up. I probably could if I was going to try to stretch forward and squeak my chair really hard into the mic, but I'm not going to do that. The name of the store in his bit was Hats in the Belfry. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then earlier or later, he worked at a Betamax store, and it was a whole thing.
That's funny.
He said they had like 8 regular customers.
Mm-hmm.
You'd work an entire shift and serve like 4 people.
Yeah.
And every one of them apparently would come up and justify like, well, this is just the quality is so much better. Like just try to justify the ill-fated purchase they had made.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man. So I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know how we got to Drew Struzan.
No, that was all through Drew, through the oh shit, I don't even remember how we got to Drew. God.
Yeah, that's my point. Like we went.
That was
somehow
the
we
real
got from,
sidebar there, wasn't it?
Well, I know we were talking about. You said Angels in the Outfield,
I did.
and that reminded me of Drew Struzan.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw Angels in the Outfield.
Hats in the
Oh, God friended me.
God friended. There we go.
There we go.
Now we're back. You know what's crazy? I just looked at Hats in the Belfry because I thought that'd get me right to it. It's a whole store now. They've gone online, or it's maybe comedy. Anyway,
All right. So
I'll just shout his name out somewhere later in the episode.
the point was people seem
Paul
to
F.
be
Tompkins.
pleased.
All right, we're good
Paul F. Tompkins. I do like Paul F. Tompkins.
We're good here. I can move on.
I was thinking of a completely different gap-toothed comedian.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Man, Paul F. Tompkins, I actually wanted him to play the young Harry Mudd in Discovery. Because he looks like Roger Carmel. Anyway, moving on. Stargirl got renewed for a second season, but not from DC Universe, from CW.
Mm-hmm.
And CW is going to be the exclusive in-season home for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I told my
No longer
wife
Sherry.
that. And she said, oh, they're going to ruin it. But she loves Stargirl. I like it too quite a bit.
I don't necessarily think that's true. But I also think like the CW, yes, it does have its flavor, but it also has its flavor on a bunch of shows that have started on the CW, not shows that were already successful on both venues. As far as I can tell, and yeah, it's a black box, but as far as I can tell from any kind of trending, Stargirl's doing pretty well, and DC Universe is not necessarily hurting for having it around. CW airings are going, as well as can be expected for the CW. And we'll probably do better when you can't also get it on the DC Universe with a couple minutes extra footage on average.
But
B,
no, not on average. Just
that
for
first
like the
episode?
first 2 episodes. Yeah.
Mostly without the commercials. You cannot convince me to watch something on CW if I can watch it on DC Universe. Not going to happen.
Well, apparently it's really hard to find anybody to watch anything on DC Universe.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So, point being, my big problem was, look, great. I love this show. Right now, it's virtually flawless. It's killing. I'm just not excited about being a streaming viewer as I am. I fucking hate the CW's platform. I wish they would ask me for $4 or $5 a month, or I mean, honestly, that's about as high as I would probably pay. But anyway, I wish they'd ask me for a few dollars a month to not have those commercials. I would gladly pay it. So yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster for me emotionally. I'm glad it's going to be there, but also I think they're already like pulling in a product that was already working. I don't know if they're going to mess with it too much, or at least there's reason to believe they may not mess with it too much.
Yeah, I hope the same writing staff and everything stays on. I don't mind if it gets a little cheaper looking, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will. I mean,
I have to admit, my wife said what I was thinking. I did kind of go, oh, it's going to lose something.
Well, if what we were talking about earlier it rolls out and some of this stuff ends up picking up some steam and all the pieces fall in place, it'll lose Jeff Johns.
That's true. And that might be a big deciding factor.
It could be for better or worse.
But yeah.
I mean, for better, because, I don't know, and apparently he's a bit of a snake. And for worse, for worse, he's actually pretty good at putting words on paper. So, I don't know. We'll see where that lands us.
Yep.
At the very least, there's a whole team of writers who hopefully have been sitting around getting used to these characters, and we won't experience much hiccup. Think of it like the Kreisberg thing.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So, according to Abigail Shapiro, who plays Dorothy Spinner on Doom Patrol, they may have lost an episode due to the COVID shutdown. She says it was basically all finished. There was going to be one more episode, and we only had a couple of scenes left, but we never got to finish that episode. She says, so I don't know if that episode is ever going to air or anything. I don't know much about what's happening. So she did say we have episodes 1 through 9, which is basically the whole season. We got basically everything done, which I'm very grateful for. So it sounds like they've got like everything wrapped up. It's just they had a couple of scenes for one episode that may or may not be integral.
Okay. I mean, that feels right given the timing when the show's released.
So if that last episode is like 10 minutes less, I guess we'll know why. Or
yeah, if it's slightly truncated.
Which
what are they averaging, like 52, 53 right now?
Something like that. Oh my God, Doom Patrol's so good.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's so good.
Just, out of this world.
Like every episode, we're just like, me and my wife are just like, what is happening? This is so good. We look forward to it whenever we can actually sit down and just watch it, because you can't do anything while you're watching it.
Oh no, it's a sit down and watch it thing. So me and the wife haven't been able to watch it because it's also, the little one's just past 20 months old and just into the area where I'm not completely comfortable showing her everything on Doom Patrol right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
You
do not want your kid to see the Candlemaker.
No, and the last 2 episodes were called Sex Patrol and Finger Patrol. And I haven't seen Finger Patrol yet. But I have a feeling what they were getting at.
No, not really, but
okay.
You don't. But I will tell you that those sex ghosts have kind of hung around a little bit.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's not a show that's family fare. Like, there's a reason we watched Palm Springs instead of some of the shit that I had on my queue. Like, we watched Stargirl together all day. Like, I'll happily show her Stargirl.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of violence, but it's cartoony, and there's some yelling, but whatever. It's drama, and she'll get used to that. Like, we'll teach her about fiction as we go. But Doom Patrol, no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna opt out right now.
Like, no point to it. Just Cliff and whoever's talking, and then all of a sudden you just hear, slap, slap, slap. He looks up, it's just like ghosts floating through the air, coming through the wall, humping away.
Yeah.
Is this our lives now?
Greek era ghosts.
Hump.
Yeah. The show didn't exactly they didn't make it a secret that they were going to be explicit sexually. it opens with Brendan Fraser's bare ass pumping away, man. I mean,
It does.
come on. This isn't, you don't get to be alarmed if you've been watching the last episode or two.
No. All right, so Harley Quinn is going to be on HBO Max soon. That's all I really know. I understand it is actually a big hit for DC Universe, and I feel like at this point I'm willing to say they are trying to yank all of the good things off of a doomed ship.
No, honestly, I think they're trying to find other avenues for dispersal, and they're probably going to make it a comicsology or I don't know what they're going to do. The only one they don't have another venue for right now is Titans.
Well, that's true, but
they'll find a place for that, frankly.
We'll talk about it in a second.
And actually, it would go really well on HBO Max, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Sandman is doing. Did you know about the Audible Sandman?
No.
On Audible, they're doing Sandman. Like Neil Gaiman, they are. He says one of the things that I keep banging my little drum and trying to explain to everybody that they have. That they have to tell people is that this is an adaptation of the first 3 graphic novels. Gaiman says of the Audible release. He says, and then the next thing will be Season of Mists, and we'll keep going to the kindly ones, and hopefully we'll keep going all the way to Sandman Overture. By the time that we finish, it'll be 100 or 120 hours of audio drama. But the idea
that would be worth $16 a month for me, for sure.
Yep. Well, they're doing it, so
which I'm pretty sure I'm already paying at this point.
Whip out the dick. But he says, but the idea is that we tell the whole thing. But we also get to do something that I think is kind of special, which is treat it as an audiobook. Because doing the Netflix TV series, we're very much looking at that as going, okay, it is 2020. Let's say that I was doing Sandman starting in 2020. What would we do? How would we change things? What gender would this character be? Who would this person be? What would be happening?
Oh, that's going to piss some people off, but I'm totally into it.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
For Netflix right now, people have tried making some movies and TV adaptations for 30 years and actively tried making them for 25 years, and they've never worked. And they never worked because of all the special effects and what would be needed to do the special effects. They never worked because you were making something that was adult. People would write Sandman movie scripts and they go, but it's an R-rated movie and we can't have $100 million R-rated movies. So that wouldn't happen. You needed to get to a world in which long-form storytelling is an advantage rather than a disadvantage. And the fact that we have 75 issues of Sandman Plus, essentially 13 full books worth of material, is really a good thing. It's not a drawback. It's on our side. And the fact that we're in a world in which we can take things that only existed in comic book art and that can now exist in reality. I get these emails from production design stuff on Netflix and Sandman that I just want to show them to everybody. And I know I can't. They're incredibly confidential, but I look at them and I glow. The other day they sent me Lucifer's castle and the gates to hell and all of these hell designs, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh. It's like watching Kelly Jones' nightmares and Sam Keith and Mike Dringenberg's nightmares just coming to life. We couldn't have done that. I think even 5 years ago. Definitely not 10 years ago. The technology wasn't there. The budget wasn't there. The audience wasn't there. The delivery systems weren't there. The idea of going off and doing preludes and nocturnes in the Doll's House as our first 10 episodes, nobody would have let us do that. The world wasn't ready, so it's ready now. They've caught up with us.
That's a beautiful interpretation of the landscape these days.
Yeah, that is one of those like where I like saw everything he said and I was like, all of that is being said. I am saying every bit of all of that on our show.
This is going verbatim. No, he's absolutely right though. Like they tried it as a movie several times and it never got there. And you know, the TV show was bantied about for a while, still never quite got there. Even though it was, even the rating system aside, they couldn't find a way to mount it. But yeah, like streaming is a whole new world.
Yeah.
And it's one of the unfortunate things about the Sandman universe is just how big it actually is, because it's one of those parts where I've read snippets, but I've never really been able to sit down and read the whole thing because I can't afford that entire thing.
Oh my God. Like they've got the new set that's like $225 or something. And I'm just like drooling over it.
Yes, I want it. I've just never been able to sit down and actually afford that. But I would probably like drool on the pages themselves if I got it. The bits that I've read, I've loved. But yeah, just it's been hard to get your hands on that thing in any real way.
Yeah,
I love taking advantage of that, of kind of this new situation in that way. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did you see the Lucifer season 5 trailer? You did, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. I did.
How do you feel about? I kind of wish they hadn't spoiled the fact that it was not really Lucifer.
Nope.
Because they're like, oh, Lucifer's back, and then they're like, I'm not really Lucifer. Like, oh god, you could have like had me for like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, see, we're just coming from different expectation angles here. I think you're thinking I could have had a couple of episodes of like blissful ignorance.
Maybe
before you hit me with this tired, boring. I'm sorry, I'm just not on board with this yet. I mean, I'm sure it'll be charming because Ellis can do that.
Yes.
But right now, my thoughts after watching the trailer one time was, fuck this. Are you fucking kidding me? It took you 5 calendar years to come up with a version of this character that was one of the most compelling things I've seen on television, especially in universe, and you just throw it away with some, it's not really him, and who on the show knows it's him, and I don't care. I get so bored with those storylines.
Yeah, I don't like
I've said this several times, so that's the last
one. Which one is he? Double? Yeah.
Yeah. Can't be bothered with them, bored by them. I've said it several times, and I do not know when that will stop being the case. It may be a permanent situation with me.
Yeah. The only time I've ever actually liked it was Star Trek 6, when the shapeshifter that Kirk had sex with the night before he knew she was a shapeshifter, shapeshifts into Kirk. And as they're fighting and rolling around on the ground, Kirk, staring into his own face, says, I can't believe I slept with you. And then shapeshifter Kirk grins and says, must have been your life's ambition.
So, yeah, that quirky comment aside.
They still did which one is he? It's not me, it's him.
Yeah. Did you see the tweet the other day from Shatner?
The one where he had the female version of Kirk and he says, I would do me. Yeah.
I just laughed. I was scrolling it down and saw that and was like, oh, I'm sorry, Bill, but I would do you too. That's you make a very attractive lady, sir. But it fit. Like it would have been annoying if he had said anything other than I would do me. That would have made no sense. Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've gone on and on at times, so I don't want to go on and on again about just how boring these storylines are for me. But I cannot find them compelling.
Yeah.
The only ray of sunshine I see in the direction they're trying to take the show is that if they told us this early that there's a twist, then maybe it's in the early part of the season.
Right.
And
I'm hoping season 1. Like, I mean, not season 1, episode 1.
Yeah, like I'm thinking first 5 maybe is my like realistic hope. And in the trailer it shows the Lucifer squaring off.
Yeah.
Or Lucifer and Michael squaring off. So
right.
My hope is that we get around to this early. Yeah. But the other hope is because it's Lucifer's twin, and one way or the other, he's coming back from hell. And there's even the mention in the trailer that for them he was down there for like a couple months or something like that, and for him it was thousands of years. Yeah. So maybe there's more of the celestial storyline in store for the season.
It certainly seems like it.
Those are the things I'm hoping for. The premise itself, not into it for me.
The most excited I was during this trailer was when I saw Chloe, and I went, "Ooh, girl, your hair's on fleek." Like, I really liked her hair. I was like, I like it. It's so different. It's really different. It's darker, and it's got like a kind of a different cut to it.
I don't even think I noticed. Actually, my favorite part of the trailer. Honestly, my favorite part of the trailer was probably Amenadiel talking about he's way stronger than you think he is or something. And they have a fight, and apparently Michael... And, all right, so at least you have to get some... They're going to have to do some exposition about why he has a twin brother and why he was the one chosen for hell, and whatever the hell his beef is where he wants to destroy Lucifer's life and all that stuff. At least
he doesn't want to destroy his life. He wants to take it.
Yeah. All that. So at least we get that. And we're going to get a good Amenadiel and somebody who was way more powerful than he was expecting fight, which is, that's good, I guess, probably. That'll at least involve some good special effects.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
All right,
they were pretty good last year when they went super powered with Lucifer last year. They were pretty good.
I agree. Whenever they've done that, has been good.
Yeah. Short of the initial reveal of the face.
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about like all the Deal and Lucifer just running around beating up bad guys stuff.
Oh yeah, when they actually do action scenes where they're legit, when they're actually beating ass, it's good.
Yeah.
But I don't like the premise, but it is only season 5. There's a season 6 pending, and it will be final. So no matter what happens now, I'm gonna get at least something else in season 6.
Right.
Not all hope is lost.
We've got some listener questions.
Mm-hmm.
Eli Hernandez says, now that Stargirl is going to be exclusively on the CW next season, what is the point of having the DC Universe app? I feel like an idiot paying a year-long subscription if Harley Quinn is also on Sci-Fi and Doom Patrol is on HBO Max. Well, Harley Quinn is also going to be on HBO Max, Eli. So
that got worse.
But, I mean, surely this isn't the only reason you feel like an idiot. I mean, surely you could find another reason to...
We all
I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding, man. I'm just messing with you. But no, dude, they've got a ton of comics. And as far as I'm concerned, like, as far as we know, they've still got Titans exclusively. And even if they didn't have that, it would be a great place to have and keep a lot of...
place to find Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it'd be a great place to... Well, Swamp Thing's going to be on CW soon. But
Oh, that's right. So, shit. Yeah, it really is Titans.
It is Titans. And they have been talking about doing Titans spinoffs. But if nothing else, there's a ton of stuff like back catalog DC Entertainment, like Batman the Animated Series and Brave and the Bold and all those DC Universe movies and the 1970s Wonder Woman. And I mean, there's a ton of DC stuff on DC Universe. And it won't all stay there. It'll cycle in and out and some will go to HBO Max for a time and then come back. But
I mean, HBO Max even got in trouble for trying to pull DCEU movies for a second there.
Right. But you know what? I don't know how DC Universe is going to fare in the long run. It's not looking good as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
And
the exclusivity is basically out the window.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did just become sort of a Marvel Unlimited type of situation. And I would be fine with that. That would be worth it on its face for those of us who want to read the comics and want to try to keep up.
Yeah.
Even if we were 6 months to a year behind.
Yeah. And those are the time frames. And it's also, if you've ever tried to use it, it's actually a really good reader.
It is actually.
So it's not bad at what it does on that level. And like I said, the back catalog's good, but some of it's going to come and go. But honestly, hard to get mad at DC Universe specifically for that because that's kind of how streaming works.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look over one day in the offices on Netflix and then, next day it's on Hulu, whatever. And just pick a thing. But, I mean, it made the news when Friends was not going to be on Netflix, did it not?
Right. Yep, sure did.
So, yeah, these things scramble a little bit.
But the thing is, it's like, this is an incredibly niche service anyway. So,
oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went, oh, you know what? It's not worth spending millions of dollars to create this content when pretty much the same amount of people are going to buy it if we don't create that because they just want the comics and all the old TV shows and shit.
Yeah. I think two things with that. One, I just think, let's say you buy the year because the year is going to cost you a little bit less. I think if they do end it and just transfer it to HBO Max, I think they're going to give you something to make up for that.
They might.
Just a bet. I know nothing, but I would bet that they'll give you something to make that kind of right.
I would bet they keep it around and lower the price. Eventually, they'll stop producing Titans on there, and I think they will present it as a situation of this is where our DC stuff is going to, our DC shows and movies are going to live that currently don't have a home on another streaming service. If someone else wants it, they will drop that contract and put it on that service. But if it doesn't have anywhere else to go, it will be on DC Universe.
Could be.
Along with the comics.
Could be, but that's a lot of production to put in.
How?
Well, I mean, it's just a lot of money to put in to produce a show that they don't necessarily know. Well, they're already making money on that, I guess.
I'm saying it's
possible.
Eventually they're not going to produce any more content. They'll just have old stuff like Wonder Woman 77 or, the 90s Flash or whatever it is. Like just old shit like Super Friends or whatever. But then if Netflix says, hey, we want all of Brave and the Bold, let's come to a thing here, a deal. Okay, cool. You have that for X amount of years or X amount of months. And when you're done with it, it goes back to DC Universe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I was still thinking about Titans and where that might land. But another thing to kind of think about that's part of the equation, I think, looking at what's been happening. I think it's possible that the buy-in to DC Universe and the fact that it was in its time, if I'm talking past tense now, a viable platform that actually did something and really brought out some stuff that was, it was some of the stuff they brought out's my favorite stuff that I've ever seen. And they did it as a risk. They did it on it was a bet, but maybe as a proof of concept of stuff like Zack Snyder's Justice League, I would not be surprised if the idea that all this worked and that people were willing to pay the monthly price for what was originally going to just be like 1 or 2 shows and now has come up and down and, then had Swamp Thing that, had some potential for sure, but it just, not everything was going to work out.
Yeah.
As a proof of concept, it may have served a really good purpose.
Yeah, maybe so. Zach Champion says, I simply ask, what supporting cast or characters would you enjoy seeing appear on Superman and Lois?
As far as new ones, I don't know. As far as the old ones, they're already in the universe. I want John Cryer to just go live there for a while.
Absolutely. That was my first thought. Is John Cryer. John Cryer, please.
Lex was introduced long before we saw Cryer, and he was introduced as Superman's nemesis long before we ever saw any of them. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Diggle. Green Lantern Diggle.
Green Lantern Diggle for sure.
I don't know, man.
Canary popping over, like the
whoever.
hits of whoever was going to pop over, and like the people that mentioned Metropolis in the crossover. Yeah, I'd like all of them. That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm assuming we'll get a Perry White.
Oh yeah, I haven't really messed with that very much.
I want Lois' sister recasted.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if she's going to make it back in the same capacity.
Well, what's fun about this is because of post-crisis, they could have, like, there were so many villains that were on Supergirl that, like, came to the world, to the universe as Supergirl villains when they were really in the comics Superman villains. They could just completely, like, retcon all that now post-crisis and be like, first time he's showing up, the Superman villain. They've already shown it happen in The Flash. Like, they could just be like, yep, well, no continuity error there. This is a new universe, y'all.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's as simple as Red Smoke or something. But it's part of the Bendis run here recently. I say recently. At this point I'm like 3 months behind because there was a gap in printing and then a gap in me being able to actually go get everything. So I'm behind in a way that makes my anxiety level higher. And deeply annoys me. But I think her name was just like Red Smoke or something. But she was just a gossip reporter that worked at the Daily Planet who kind of had a low-key, and she was just like a cloud of smoke. So she actually almost took Superman down. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they pulled her in.
Sounds right.
They enjoyed the Leviathan part of the Bendis experience, so wouldn't surprise me if they pulled her in at all. Also, it's a good excuse to explore the Daily Planet a little bit and do the dynamics there and all that.
I want to see Mickey Spicklick.
Yes, I definitely want Mixie. Yeah.
I want Thomas Lennon.
Yeah, for sure.
Zach also says, what DC property would you like to see developed for the big or small screen next? Any of them? I don't have a preference.
Blue and Gold is still a favorite of mine as far as the things that have been tossed around for a while.
I'd like to see a little Ted Cord, little bit of Booster Gold, throw in Jaime. That's cool.
I would like any part of that franchise to be a thing on screen. It's especially because it's still one of my big gripes with the CW is you've thrown that name at me so many times. Let me have it.
Yeah. I want to see Batgirl, Barbara Gordon Batgirl. I want to see that.
Yeah. I wouldn't even mind using Batwoman as a way to get into Batgirl, like a Batgirl, like a backdoor pilot kind of thing. Right.
I don't know. Aside from I thought of a thing and now I'm like, no shit, I want that too. I can't think of anything I just don't want. I don't know what to tell you, man. All the things. What else we got? Steve Boyd wants to know burrito or burger.
I mean, I'm cheeseburger all day.
Me too.
Yeah, without question, without doubt.
Yeah. No getting
Not
around
tossing
that.
the burrito out of bed. I can make a fine one, but no question.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried it at home many times here in the last few months. You cannot mimic a cheap, greasy burger at home. You just can't. Not really. I mean, you can get close. I've gotten close, but something about that.
Have you had the Bubba burgers?
Yeah, I have. Still just not the same.
Those are pretty good.
Something about freezing it and trucking it, 1,200 miles across the country to be mishandled by an assistant manager and someone who wasn't paying attention because they were high.
Uh-huh.
And then
I don't know. You're getting closer to cheap and greasy to me.
That's my point. I don't know what it is about this series of events that makes a cheap, greasy burger that just cannot be beaten. Like,
I thought you were saying you wanted to find a cheap, greasy burger.
oh no, I do. That's my point. And I've tried the Bubba's, and it's just not the same. Like you can't make a Whataburger, for instance. That is a very particular burger.
I would much rather have a Bubba burger than a Whataburger.
That's
me and Bethany eat these Bubba burgers all the time with sweet potato fries. I'll take them over a Five Guys at this point.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, there's a different version of burger where like I can get pretty close to a Five Guys burger if I'm cooking at home. Mm-hmm. But some of that has to do with just the flatness of the meat and the fact that I don't have an actual skillet. I mean, I can do it on an iron skillet all day, but I don't have that actual like flat pan skillet. Because I've cooked on those, and you can do things on those that are hard to mimic. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. Anyway, point is, I can make a burger at home that I really love, but it's different. It's just different than a fast food drive-through, like even a McDouble. It's something like deeply satisfying about that really cheap bullshit. I don't know.
All right, well, to each their own. Steve Boyd wants to know, who's your favorite Joker on screen? Hamill? If we're just talking on screen, Hamill.
Yeah, if it's literally just anybody that's been on a screen, Hamill. If to the point that was probably trying to be made, though, a face. What do you got there?
Oh, as far as live action?
Yeah.
At this point, I'm gonna go Nicholson.
Might still be Ledger for me.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't think there are many bad options, though.
No, I don't think there's a bad option.
From time to time, I'll be disappointed by something, but
if you catch me on a different day, I might say Ledger. I might say Cesar Romero, for God's sake. I don't know. There is a certain glee I get from watching Cesar Romero rattle off the shit he does as the Joker. That I don't get with anybody else.
Chew up the scenery.
Oh my God.
No one else could. Oh yeah.
Like, he chews that shit up like Jason chews those cheap, greasy burgers.
Yeah.
This is...
Someone out there must agree with me that there's a really good burger and there's a cheap burger, and they both have value in different ways.
I think you're just coming at it from a weird angle, because I mean, I swear I've seen you eat so many burgers, and I think I understand now why you get about halfway through the burger and disgustedly give it to your dog. Like, Jason gets about halfway to 3/4 done with the burger and just like hunched over, just stares at it.
To Story or Bruce or whatever was primarily the dog that was at my feet at the time. Yeah.
And
Rain before him.
He looks Jason has this look on his face like, you failed me. But with a hint of, I don't know, I don't understand how this ended poorly. And I want to help him, but I don't know how.
No, some of the disappointments in myself. I ate very slowly. And you do get to a point, especially like I'll get like a double cheese and really enjoy myself, because I do also enjoy the ratio of meat to cheese given the other ingredients with a double cheese. So I'll get something like that, and about halfway through I'll start to get full and slow down even more than I'm normally. Like I get distracted while I'm eating, so I'll take a bite, enjoy myself, blah blah blah, all that. And at some point though, it just the thing cools, and you can't reheat a burger. You just can't. It doesn't operate the same. I've never been able to microwave a burger and get it back to its original capacity. It's impossible, I believe. Same with the fries. You ever microwaved a fry and gotten anything close to the original quality?
No,
never gonna happen. It's impossible. The water content is literally evaporated from that thing in order to heat it. It's done. So what you've seen a lot of times is me get to a point where I'm like halfway through and it starts to cool, and I take the next bite and I'm like, well, this was a good time, and I like what we did here, but I feel like if I finish the rest of this, it's gonna be for gluttony's sake. I'm no longer enjoying it.
Yeah.
But my dog will enjoy the ever-living shit out of this if I give it to him or her. So here you go, Story. Yeah. That's some of it.
Yeah, I have to eat my burgers as soon as I can. I wolf them down. I don't want a cold burger.
No, I get it. I mean, it may be a thing that's in my bones pretty hard, though, because my parents still joke about they used to have to, they would make me eat till I got to the pickle, and then I could get up and do something else. And I'd often just forget I was eating and run around. I would just kind of... I'd get as far as I had to in order for them to let me get away from the table, and then I may or may not ever revisit that table in a convenient period of time.
All right. Fanboy Comics Pod asks us, should DC's next wave of animated movies be exclusive to HBO Max and then released to public at a later date, or the opposite, as they've been doing with DC Universe, having it purchasable, then released on streaming? I don't think it matters, but I do think like there is something to be said for some reason, and I don't quite understand it. I've been recently talking with someone from Warner Archives about doing a Night Court podcast, which I'm going to be doing, by the way. But as they explained it to me,
tallest cast in television history, by some.
I don't know. As they explained it to me, the thing being on streaming actually drives sales of DVDs. I'm not quite sure how that works. Maybe it's just the like, hey, I watched this on streaming. Hey, I watched it here. This is a good time. And then the people who are like, well, I don't want to buy that service. I'll just buy the DVDs. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers. I don't understand the trends. I don't understand
access to the numbers.
Yeah. I don't know the trends.
They're
I don't understand why those things work like that, but apparently that's the way it's working. So I assume they should be either available on HBO Max, probably HBO Max and not DC Universe, since who knows what the hell's going on with that.
Right.
Although, but yeah,
it's
probably
not a bad
before.
idea for the DC Universe to kind of pivot to that as kind of a main thing to me. Again, I don't know the numbers, but they already have a lot of the animated universe on DC Universe. And if that was a thing where I could, as a paying member of... All right, so right now, if they release a movie that's an anime movie, it's probably released digitally 2 or 3 weeks before it's released physically. It's been that way for a while, and I don't know when that's going to stop. I don't like this mechanism. Never have liked it. It just annoys the shit out of me that we're doing things digitally before we can get a physical copy. But mostly because in a lot of versions, do you not have to pay for it twice? I mean, you go pay like $12 to buy the movie to watch it when it comes out. And then I got to go buy another $19 to actually have a physical copy of it, even though I already have a digital copy of it. And anyway.
Well, you can also rent it.
You can.
For $2 or $3.
You can. And watch
then
it.
Buy it later.
Like however many times, I guess, in that 48 hours since you hit play to... Anyway, it's just not ideal for me. Like, part of me would like to be able to hit buy just outright early on and get the physical copy if I wanted one. It's just not my favorite thing, is all. But if we're doing that, like I'm already paying for DC Universe. What if I just got my digital copy on DC Universe before and I could still get my physical copy later? Like you just start releasing the new version of animated movies there.
Let's see, that would be cool if if you could do like a pre-order on DC Universe as a member and get your digital download when it comes out, and then they have your address. They send you the copy. You don't even want to go to the store. They send you the physical copy, you know?
Here's the other thing, especially, all right, let's say I'm already paying for DC Universe. Let's say I'm paying $4.99, whatever it is. I forget. I think it's more. Anyway, let's say I'm paying whatever, $5 or whatever for DC Universe. I think I paid $65.99 for the year. Anyway, I've already got my money there. They already have shekels. So yeah, like you said, if I have an option as a DC Universe member to go in and say, yes, I'll pay $20 for this physical copy of something, and that shows up 3 weeks later. But in the meantime, and you can do this with websites, I get to view a thing that other people don't get to view early because I pre-ordered. I know it can be done. Like there can be tiers of access within a website. I don't know exactly how that website's written. Not that I haven't written a few in my time, but I know it can be done. Depending on how they did it, it may take some revamping. But yeah, I would be happy with that option. Yeah, I put my money in. I want to buy this movie. I want to see this movie, 6 months before or a year before it comes out on a streaming service. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
All right.
And there are options for it. That's all.
Yeah. But apparently this is, the streaming first, digital first, physical later is something that works. So
I will give him this though. Like I listen to a lot of audiobooks, a lot less than I used to. But if I've listened to something that I've only heard as an audiobook and I come across a copy of that, say if I'm at a bookstore and I find a physical copy of a book that I've already heard, I'll buy it just to have a physical copy.
Right.
So I get that instinct.
Yeah. There is something to that. There is something to being emotionally attached to something and then wanting to have a tangible representation of that thing.
Yeah.
That's why, I've seen people, I saw a guy, and you run across these people from time to time. I saw a guy who was like talking about how much he hated the people who felt like they had to wear like Rick and Morty shirts or whatever, like merchandise to proclaim their love for the corporate overlords or whatever. Like, I can enjoy a thing without like advertising that I like it. Like, my identity's not wrapped up in that thing to that degree, and that's great. But at the same time, like, I way more feel like it's not just about being like, my identity is wrapped up in this. It's to, one, find others like you.
Yeah.
It is, two, to support the thing that you like, because if you don't, the thing that you like is going away.
That's a hard truth, but yeah. I mean, it's nice if you just have like a Pickle Rick t-shirt or something, and you run across somebody and they give you that point, like, oh yeah, and you have a quick little conversation. It's nice.
Yeah, it's fun. I like to like things. You dick. I'm sorry that there's a corporation behind it. I'm so sorry. As a creator myself, if anyone in the damned world, in the damned corporate world, ever cared two damns about anything that I ever made, I'm signing that contract.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not doing any good sitting on my hard drive.
I will be a sellout for 2 rusty pennies. Don't even have to meet you at the crossroads. We can email that shit.
Dear Devil.
Yeah.
There's your 2 cents. Now, what are you going to do to me?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's all I've got, man. You want to wrap it?
Oh, yeah. Let's get out.
I'm not just ready to wrap it. I'm ready to double bag that shit.
Yeah, I got a big day starting in less hours than I would like.
Well, everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. You make it all worthwhile. Oh, my heart is warm for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And anyone listening, I promise I'll talk to him about that voice and try to make him stop doing
it. I'll only do it more.
Because it's creepy ass. I don't
I
don't like this at all. Please stop.
Until next time, gentle listener, keep some DC on your screen. I think the voice is Michael Emerson.
It might be.
Little Ben Linus. Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnScreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.